welcome to Behind the Music. I'm Kristin, Holton, Prouty, excited to be back again with you to talk a little bit about the season that we're in right now. This is called the season of Epiphany. On January 6th, we celebrated the Magi coming to see the baby Jesus in the manger. And I know in some ways we feel like Christmas is so far in the past, but we're still in this season of Epiphany, the season where we celebrated that Jesus came not just for the Jews, but for everyone. The wise men who came, who saw the star, who followed, who searched, were not Jews. They were from other countries. And so that's a symbol to all of us that he came for all of us. So the word epiphany we often associate with light because the wise men followed the star. And sometimes you have that like, oh, I had an epiphany. You might see a little symbol of a light bulb over your head or something like that. So it's this sudden realization, oh, interesting. So this is a very cool season that we're in because it's a time when we discover new things. And I think it's kind of fitting as we go through this season of Epiphany that our sermon series is called Encounters with Jesus. Now, what a better way to have an epiphany than to meet Jesus. Now, we're studying people in the Bible who were able to meet him face to face, but to have a sudden realization of, oh, this is a great man. He's more than just a man. This is what he can do in my life. This is how I can help him spread the word to other people. And so we've been having this great journey through some of the Gospels. This week, we're going to be studying about Nicodemus. And as we know, Nicodemus was a Jew. He was very high up, and so he came under cover of darkness because he didn't want people to see that he was meeting with Jesus. And we don't know a whole lot about him. You'll have to tune in for the sermon for more information about that. But we do know that the most famous verse, probably the most famous verse in the Bible, is from this encounter with Jesus with Nicodemus, John 3:16. And it talks about how much God loved the world that he sent his only son. And that's something that Jesus was telling Nicodemus. Now, a little bit later in that same story, in that same chapter, we have a look into the light and the darkness, which is interesting because Nicodemus came in the dark hoping to discover the light maybe. Where it talks about light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. So when we have these epiphanies, when we realize things, we have to change. We have to shed some light on it. We have so many of these phrases that we use in our popular language that all sort of spin back to this light, this epiphany that we have. And I'm going to play a piece this weekend that's called Fiat, which means let there be light. And it's written by the French composer Theodore Dubois. He was living and writing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And he studied in the Paris Conservatory, and he won the Prix de Rome, which is the highest award that somebody can win in a musical field in France. So he was able to go and study in Italy and gain some more experience. He came back. He was an organist. He's played at many of the great churches in Paris. He was also a teacher and a composer, and he became the director of the Conservatory of Paris, which was a pretty distinguished title to have in any generation. So we know that from stories in history that he was kind of a conservative composer. He wanted music to be sort of in the vein of how it had come through. There was a little bit of a scandal when people wanted Maurice Ravel, who was kind of cutting edge and doing some more ethereal and outside of the box thinking with his music composing. And Dubois and some of the other teachers wanted things to be a little bit more traditional. But either way, his music is lovely. It's very accessible. And this piece, which is from a collection of pieces, is sort of showing you through music how light can spread. So it starts very quietly. I'm going to start on the third manual with the softest stop on the organ. So it starts very quietly, and then it's going to gradually get louder. Here we go. And then he designates that we need to get even louder. So I move on to the middle manual. Crescendo. kind of feel maybe like a sunrise. If you've ever watched the sun come out, it starts to get gradually louder and louder. So let me see, I'm going to start here. I'm going to transition from the middle manual, which we call the swell, down to the great. Here we go. A little louder. And then as I turn the page, I'm going to add some stops because it's supposed to get louder. So here I have on the great now. And we just keep adding. That's the beautiful thing about the organ, is that you can just keep adding stops to make it louder and louder. I have it coupled from the swell down to the great, so even if I add a sound here, you can hear it on this manual, and you can even see, because this is a mechanical instrument, when I play here, you'll see the key moving there. I know some people have asked me, how does that work? So it actually is physically pulling it down. So here we go. So when you listen on Sunday, when you tune into the live stream, you'll see that it's getting gradually louder and louder, and you'll feel the light. I hope maybe you'll have an epiphany of some sort. Oh, the organ can do all these great things. I don't know what your epiphany is going to be, but just a really fun piece to kind of be an interpretation of what Epiphany is as we go through this season. It's always great to be with you. I hope you enjoy this piece by Dubois, and I look forward to seeing you again next week on Daily Hope.